In this video, I just wanted to bring you guys some gameplay showing off Micaiah and Sothe, and talk about my initial impressions of both of them. Starting with Micaiah, I think she is very interesting as a unit being released right now. Her Thani Tome, which is effective against both armor and cavalry units, is extremely relevant in today's arena, and Micaiah herself comes with skills to combat against Reinhardt and Brave Lyn specifically. Keep in mind that Thani's damage reduction against ranged units only works against armor and cavalier units, which means Thani is basically just a 14 might tome with 3 extra resistance when you fight infantry or flyers. After getting to use Micaiah for a bit, I can say that she does feel like a blue version of Julia or Deirdre. Her lower speed means that she barely doubles anything, and she will be doubled a lot. However, her high resistance stat and her default distant defense A skill make Micaiah an absolute magical wall, and honestly I think using a second distant defense seal, or a sacred seal, might be kinda overkill. She can do well against any magical attacks, but physical attacks are her clear weakness, so you can't let her get hit by any random melee units. Regarding Micaiah's performance against a honed cavalry buffed Reinhardt and Brave Lyn, I want to say that Reinhardt is the easier of the two. However, if you do not use guard, then Micaiah can die to Reinhardt if he uses the Moonbolt and Quick Impulse combo, and your Micaiah is a minus HP or minus resistance nature. Guard is good in this situation and against Lyn if she uses the same combo with a Brave Bow. However, I wouldn't say Micaiah is a complete hard counter to either. Brave Lyn is much worse to deal with because of Micaiah's low defense stat. If Brave Lyn is just running a regular Mulligear and Swift Sparrow setup, then Micaiah will be able to tank one shot and then kill her on the counter thanks to Thani. However, Brave Bow Lyn spells game over, which I found out in my very first arena match with Micaiah. To stop Brave Bow Lyn, I think you have to run another Distant Defense 3 Sacred Seal, and even then it is extremely close depending on natures and buffs for both units. Deflect Missile 3 is the better answer to this, but Distant Defense is arguably more consistently useful when dealing with other ranged weapons. Essentially, on paper, Micaiah can defeat both Brave Lyn and Reinhardt if they are using their default weapons with their standard popular builds. When you add in cavalry buffs, natures of both units, merges, and builds like Brave Bow or Moonbow and Quick Impulse, then things aren't so clear cut. If Micaiah can get the drop on either of them, then she should be able to one-shot them, but being able to tank either one would definitely be better. As for performance against army units, Micaiah has a much easier time. She can destroy the Black Knight or Zelgius, and poor Winter Tharja doesn't stand any chance. Performance against green units like Hector, Winter Alyssa, or Halloween Henry is not that great, although she can deal a decent amount of damage to them despite triangle disadvantage. Halloween Jacob isn't as safe, and Thani can help deal with annoying wary fighter builds by chunking them for huge amounts of health. Overall, Micaiah is serviceable against current meta threats, but is not the end-all solution to them in my opinion. Thani's effectiveness against armor and cavalry units is very strong, and any red cavaliers or armors just get decimated if Micaiah attacks first. Except Sigurd, because Divine Tearfing is OP. I didn't talk much about Micaiah's pure magical tanking potential, but she can fill that role of an anti-mage unit as well as anyone else. If you get Micaiah, then she should be a welcome addition to any team. Sothe may not be on everyone's radar since he is a dagger unit, however he has some of the best offensive stats for dagger units up there with Niru's Takumi. With his base kit, Sothe reaches 55 attack and 38 speed, making him a really powerful threat to low defense units. He does have the potential to cleanly one-shot really low defense units with low HP, however you shouldn't expect to see this that much in arena. The Peshkats is a really cool weapon. It essentially takes upgraded Smoke Dagger and upgraded Rogue Dagger and combines their effects into one weapon. Because of this, once Sothe procs its effect, he becomes an even scarier unit to deal with. To me, Sothe plays very well when both the enemy and his own team are next to him. He gets to debuff multiple enemies, and he can buff up his own team. Remember, the ally buff only lasts for one turn, meaning it will always go away once the enemy phase has ended, no matter when the buff was applied. With this in mind, you get the most out of Peshkats if you can make an attack during the player phase, and then give your team the stat advantage once the enemy phase begins. If I had the resources, I would totally try to give Sothe close counter. I've seen a few dagger builds utilizing Rogue Dagger and close counter because once you apply the debuff and buff to yourself, the user becomes much harder to kill on the enemy phase and they can retaliate back to finish out targets. It's a good 1v1 setup, and because Peshkats also affects all stats and has the 2-space AoE for both the debuff and self-buff, I think Sothe could be a decent candidate for the same build idea. As for what I have tried out on Sothe so far, I gave him Dragon Fang, Vantage, and also the Heavy Blade Sacred Seal. 55 attack makes it easy to proc Heavy Blade, which means 2 attacks charges Dragon Fang fully. This gives him a ton of power to one-shot enemies, and I've had a lot of fun with this, but I don't know if it's probably the most optimal choice. I have heard about using Miracle instead with this build idea, and it actually is pretty fun to watch Sothe tank a few clutch hits in arena. The idea with Vantage is that Sothe can get buffed with Peshkats, and if he gets attacked by a ranged unit when he is on low HP, then his almost 60 attack and a potential Dragon Fang proc should be enough to one-shot whoever the attacker is. Sothe is pretty squishy and Vantage is pretty situational, but it's nice to have. Overall, Micaiah and Sothe are pretty fun, and I think they are very usable units. Micaiah can be converted into a simple quick repose mage baiter so that she can get kills on many more enemies. Meanwhile, Sothe can be given Windsweep or Desperation to take advantage of his decent speed with life and death. There are a lot more options for both of them, but those are some simple skills that work for other types of units of their same class. If you guys were lucky enough to pull these two, then let me know in the comments how you feel about them so far. Also, put down any builds you may have any success with to help out any fellow summoners who may need some advice. That's all for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.